Hi everyone, this is a layout that's kind of a bonus layout. I thought I was done with the block party kit from Studio Calico, but then I found these extra pictures of me and my mom and my sister at the top of the Empire State Building, and they were left over from Project Life. I think I reprinted them because they were too dark as they were, but I didn't really want to throw them away. So I decided to do another layout, even though I think I've already done a layout, and they definitely were in my Project Life for last September. Um, the September that just went by, 2012. So what I'm doing here is I'm using my little sewing machine, and I get a lot of questions about what my sewing machine is. I have the Kenmore half size sewing machine, and you can just get it at Sears, and it's not very expensive at all. And it is the exact same machine from what I can tell. It's exactly the same machine as the Genome Sew Mini, and that machine has a lot of really great reviews online. This one, not so much, just because I think most people just buy the Genome. But here in Canada, I had a hard time getting the Genome. I could have ordered it online, but for shipping to Canada, it's just like crazy. So I just went to Sears and it seemed to be the same thing. And then I did some research and found that it actually is the same thing. So that's my sewing machine. It's really, really light. I can lift it with one hand and I just store it right under my table where I work. So that's why I can get at it so quickly. I find I don't use machines like that if they're not out and open for me to kind of use. And so I keep my sewing machine plugged in and the foot all ready to go, like all the parts are plugged into it and it's always ready to go. So what I've done here is I just sewed a grid onto my craft cardstock. That's going to be my background. And I just used a narrow zigzag stitch, and I'm wanting to use that camera paper from the Echo Park Everyday Eclectic collection, and I'm wanting to use the leftover pieces of that Studio Calico vellum with the circular grid pattern on it. And so I haven't fully decided what exactly I'm doing with this, but I wanted it to be kind of like a spread all over the page, kind of random looking grid-like layout is what is the look I was sort of going for. So now I've cut those three pieces of vellum into squares that fit within the squares that were created by the grid on the sewing. And I'm going to be using the stamps that came with the kit. That's the Block Party kit from Studio Calico. And I have my basic gray ink pad from Stampin' Up. And so I'm just putting those arrows from the Stampin' Up or from the Studio Calico kit in three different places. And then I'm going to put the number line. But I think I'm going to use, yeah, I'm using Spice Tin ink from Jenny Bolin, and that's a navy blue ink. And so I just put those kind of on top of one another, and then those become my three anchoring points for my three clusters. Each cluster is going to include one of those sets of the two stamps, and it's going to include a piece of vellum, a photo, and at this point also a piece of that blue twine that came in the Studio Calico kit. And I am just knotting it on either side, and I think that that kind of it kind of mirrors the number line stamp that's already on the layout, but it adds a bit of color and texture. So now I'm also going to put a piece of the washi tape, which is the camera. It's like a nice wide washi tape that came with the Studio Calico kit. I'm going to put a piece under each photo. And then I'm going to adhere the photos down and use a piece of the cloud washi tape. That's a really old washi tape. It might be from Freckled Fawn. And that's going to be on the top of each photo. And I didn't want each little cluster to be exactly the same, so I varied where the stamp was and where relative to the other things, and I also varied where the vellum was relative to the other things. I just stapled the vellum down with my tiny attacher, And then I took one of those giant label stickers from the old Sassafras collections. I don't know which collection that is, but I really liked the orange and blue combination. And then I grabbed the letter stickers. They're probably from the same collection. They're also from Sassafras. And when you got their collection packs, you used to get like a giant set of stickers as well as a smaller set of stickers, and then usually a big font like that. And so this layout is giving me an opportunity to not only use up some old photos, but also use up some old supplies. So now I have my thickers out because I'm looking for something that I'm going to use for the rest of the title. So I wanted the word top to be the biggest word in the title, but the title is going to be on top of the world. So now I need to put the rest of the words on there. So this is an Eric, this font is called Eric, and it is by, well, it's a Thickers, and it's like a denim blue, and it actually does have, like, it looks like it's denim. It's photoreal, I think that's what that's called. It's like got a photo of denim on it. And here I'm trying to figure out if I can use those letter stickers, but they're not quite, they're a little too light blue. And so I'm using these Glitz Designs letter stickers. They're called Teeny Alphas, and they're my new favorite letter stickers. My sister gave me 3 packages of them in all different colors, 4 packages of them in all different colors. And so I've been using them up on my project life and everywhere else that I can put them. So there's my title. Just gonna put some stuff back now. I like to tidy as I go, otherwise I have a disaster zone when I'm done scrapbooking. And so I knew I wanted to use the that cloud paper, but the clouds that were on the 12 by 12 were way too big, so I just pulled out the card kit to have a look at the smaller cloud paper. But then instead I decided to go into my stash and use some of these other clouds. So I have some white felt clouds from Cat Scrappiness, and then I have some white cardstock punched clouds that somebody sent me in a rack, and they're really, really cute in different sizes, and so it makes it easy to layer them with the different sizes and textures. So now I always like to stamp on my clouds. That's kind of my thing. I love clouds that are plain white, but for some reason I can never seem to put those on my layouts. I always have to stamp on them. So I've got a couple of colors. These are my Stampin' Up! Ink pads, and that's Pumpkin Spice, Indigo, Island Indigo, and Tempting Turquoise. And so I'm just going to stamp some patterns, and that chevron stamp that I used first is a Jenny Bolin. I believe it's Jenny Bolin. I don't know. I threw away the packaging. And then this one is a Studio Calico background stamp. And you can't quite see the orange on the felt, but at least it's not like you can see it a little bit. And you can see the orange quite well on the cardstock. So now I've got my polka dots, and this is a Hero Arts stamp, and I'm gonna put some polka dots. So I just varied it so that each set of clouds have a different variety of both colors and patterns, so that there's some dark blue, some light blue, and some orange in each cluster of clouds. Although one cluster just has 2 clouds, so that couldn't happen for that one. I store my background stamps on those cards. I can't remember who makes them. And so now I'm gonna put them back where they were, and I did use my phone. You can't see it, but I did snap a picture before I took them off. That's how I remembered where they went. And I'm going to use a little bit of glossy accents to glue down all of these, and then the ones that are layered over felt, I need to use a pop dot as well as glossy accents just so that it sits properly. So that's what I'm doing here, just laying down all those clouds. And when you use glossy accents on a piece of felt, You just need to be careful that you're not using too much of it, because if you do, it'll blob through and cause like a dark spot. It basically looks like a wet spot on your felt. And so I opened up my tiny attacher. I have a video somewhere that shows how to do that. You just open it up as if you're going to be changing the staples, but then you put the handle back down and then you can staple anywhere that you want. Just be careful because the staples obviously are pretty sharp. And so I use some scissors to turn them down, and then I always cover them with either packing tape, or if I have washi tape on my table, I'll just use it like I did there. And so I needed to staple down those blue strings because I wanted them layered underneath of those clouds. So just tidying up a little bit and deciding if I need anything else on this layout. This was one that kind of developed as it went, so I didn't have a good overall idea. So it's very unusual for me. It's not consistent with, I think, my general style. I don't really think I have a style, but other people probably do. I think it's hard to recognize your own style, but this is definitely different than most of the things that I do. So I punched some hearts there, and I decided not to use the cloud paper just because I wanted some more orange accents around the layout. And so I used my Stampin' Up! Heart to Heart punch, which I picked up on the clearance rack last year. It was really, really cheap because they were changing from the levered punches to the ones that close. So I'm just putting some of those hearts around the layout, and whenever I'm putting one of the hearts around the string, I'm just tucking it under the string so that the string layers over it. I would have liked to have stapled the hearts on, but I had already stapled the strings, so I just stuck a little heart pin in there, like a stick pin, and that's something I did a long time ago that I just really liked and have been wanting to try again the next time I use a cloud, so I did that. And those, I think, are my mind's eye pins. And then I'm just adding a couple of embellishments from the Studio Calico Block Party kit, including those really cute geotags. So I added them in 3 different colors, one on each of my clusters. And now you see my brad collection, and I'm planning to put some brads on this layout. I don't use brads very often because I find they're a little bit too much work to put in. I know I'm a bit of a lazy scrapper. If it's not easily glued down, I don't tend to use the embellishment, but I wanted, just something else of interest on this layout, and so brads they always introduce a different texture. They're shiny and sometimes they're metal. You might notice I'm using a couple of sassafras brads, and I'm using some Dear Lizzy brads, and I think just sassafras and Dear Lizzy. And the Dear Lizzy brad has a gold, oh yes, and also some October Afternoon 9 to 5 brads. The Dear Lizzy one has gold around it. I'm putting it in right now, whereas the other ones are all trimmed with silver, but they're far enough apart on the layout that I don't think it really matters. Sometimes I care about that kind of stuff, and other times I'm just kind of like, I don't care. So, yeah. Now, I wanted to put a bit more journaling on this just to say that we were at the Empire State Building. So I'm using those Glitz Designs Teeny Alphas again, which I love. And I like that I'm using the same letter stickers that are already in the title, so that instead of introducing something completely new to this layout, it's just kind of a continuation of what's already on there. So I spelled out Empire State Building, and then I just kind of justified it over to the right, so that it was kind of tucked under, so that the empire was tucked under one of the clouds. And now I'm using an Amy Tangerine roller date stamp, and I think I'm using the one that says travel log, because I don't travel very much. So whenever I create a travel layout, I try to use all my travel stuff that I have, so I can get good use of my travel stuff. So now I'm just going to lay down those letter stickers, and I'm making them kind of go up and down instead of straight across because that's what I did in the title. So I wanted it to kind of coordinate or kind of be the same. And I put one of those date stamps on each of the three clusters, and now I'm putting an enamel dot on that cloud just for interest. And I thought about putting some arrows, but that was a little bit too much, so I decided not to. I'm desperate to get those arrows used up. And I think I'm deciding that it's done. Let me see. No, I'm putting a couple more enamel dots. Just because the cloud at the bottom had the stick pin, so the other two cloud clusters I kind of felt needed something to kind of balance that off. So here are the close-ups. If you guys have any questions or anything, just let me know. There are some pictures at the end too. So thanks for watching, everyone.